Now, the war in Ukraine, as we've reported, is creating a flood of refugees pouring across European borders. As the fighting enters its second week, more than 1 million people have fled, half of them children, by the way. But on Thursday, Russian and Ukrainian negotiators did agree to provide humanitarian corridors for people trying to escape the fighting. We'll see how that works out. And ministers in the European Union unanimously agreed to give temporary protection to all refugees fleeing Ukraine. Now, that gives them protected status and rights to residency.
Eligible persons will thus be able to benefit from a protective status similar to that of a refugee in any country of the European Union for a renewable period of 1 year. This unanimous decision reflects, I believe, the full commitment of the European Union to the solidarity that we owe to the Ukrainian people in the face of this unjustifiable war.
Now, Ukrainian refugees crossing international borders are dependent, of course, on the goodwill of volunteers waiting to help and the country itself. Once they arrive to safety, they are grateful for every kindness. CNN's Ivan Watson talks to refugees newly arrived on the Ukrainian-Hungarian border who are just happy to finally be safe.
Forced to flee their homes and their country, Ukrainians on the run. Their children making the best of it, oblivious to the fact that a week-old war just turned them into refugees.
This is one of Hungary's border crossings with Ukraine. There is a steady stream of people arriving here in vehicles and on foot. All of the Ukrainian new arrivals are women and children.
Hungarian aid workers welcome the refugees and bring them free of charge to the nearest village, where the community center is now a place of refuge. Some people stay here, others pause for food and warmth before moving on. Among those here, Anna Tipperchuk, her mother Svetlana, and her 16-month-old son.
Yes, this is my son, Mark.
They crossed the border to Hungary this morning after spending nearly a week on the road.
We very thankful for Hungary people. It's very hard work that he's doing.
The Hungarian village of Barabash has a population of 1,060 people. The deputy mayor tells me the village has taken in more than 100 Ukrainians, including housing families in at least 20 village homes. As we speak, another family arrives from Ukraine.
There's a little baby.
Yesterday, we took care of a 5-day-old baby who came across the border, the deputy mayor tells me. A 5-day-old baby. Victoria Kurina says when the Russians invaded, she fled her home near Kiev for what she thought would be one night. A week later, she and her son just arrived in a foreign country.
What belongings do you have?
I had just one jacket. I think Ukraine is very strong. It's a country with very strong people, strong nation, and amazing power. That's why I don't worry, but of course my heart is broken.
She says she tried to convince her friends in Russia via social media about the deadly attack their military is carrying out on her homeland.
What do your Russian friends say to you?
It's not true. No, it's not possible.
They don't believe you.
No.
Як Адольф Гітлер цей Путін?
10-year-old Timur chimes in saying, Vladimir Putin is like Adolf Hitler. He's attacking the world, just like Hitler did. There are almost no men here aside from the elderly, because all Ukrainian men of fighting age have been ordered to stay behind to defend their country from the Russian invasion.
I'm very angry for Russian people.
I want to tell Russians that it is time to do something. It's time to change something, says Anna Tipperchuk. My son doesn't deserve to be forced to run across Ukraine and across borders, she adds. He doesn't deserve to grow up like this. Ivan Watson, CNN, on the Ukraine-Hungarian border.
Now, as you can imagine, Russian media coverage of the invasion is very different from what you'll see on CNN and other Western news outlets. Pro-Kremlin propaganda filling the airwaves and far too little real reporting is getting through to the Russian people. More now from Nick Robertson in Moscow.
On Russia's state TV, audiences are only being told what the Kremlin wants them to know about the war in Ukraine. This new Russian army video shows troops handing out humanitarian aid. They claim Russian forces are giving civilians safe passage from the fighting, a message reinforced in President Putin's latest state TV speech.
Our military have provided corridors in all areas of combat action.
The terrible reality the rest of the world sees: shelling of civilians, suffering, death and destruction, never gets aired on Russian state TV. And many Russians believe their government that the war was forced on them by Ukraine, backed by NATO.
I know the truth. This was a forced measure on our side. After what Russia went through in World War II, it's madness to believe we want war.
I see what's on TV when I'm getting ready for work. We try not to get too involved in it because we've got enough of our own problems.
Some do care enough to reach beyond state TV.
I have heard that some civilians, even children, have died, but I'm not sure I can believe it because there is fake news. They are making money.
Obedient anchors on state TV never question the Kremlin's version of and weeps about missiles killed civilians near a Holocaust memorial in Kyiv. Even so, some mostly younger Russians see through their government's lies, get their news from friends, independent and social media.
Almost all of us are understanding this thing, that there is a lot of lie around. So we do not know what's happening.
I think this is a crime, an aggression against a neighboring country. Our government invaded, now they are killing people.
That's awful. What can we think about it? Normal people understand everything, but we can't do anything. Because we're afraid, like everyone else.
The government is so worried independent media could challenge their narrative. In the past few days, it shut down 2 outlets, and is right now preparing a law that would criminalize what it calls fake media. It can carry a maximum 15-year jail sentence. Despite the Kremlin's best efforts at controlling the narrative, many Russians have taken to the more than 7,500 people arrested so far, including this elderly lady at a protest in St. Petersburg Wednesday. And no surprise, this video has yet to be shown on state media. There is nothing more dangerous for President Putin in Russia today than the truth. Armed with evidence of what is happening in Ukraine, many Russians may reconsider their relationship with him, and that could challenge his rule. Nick Robertson, CNN, Moscow.
Now, a children's hospital in